All right, here is the next chapter of Super Fudge. Dad stopped talking about his book. I had the feeling it wasn't going very well. Instead, he talked about growing vegetables and how to cook them Chinese style, or about the Princeton University hockey game. He took me to all the home games. When Jimmy Fargo came to visit, he joined us. I'm really into violence, Jimmy said. I think hockey's a great game. It's a lot bloodier than football, and there are more team fights. That's not what hockey's about, Dad argued. It's a game of skill, of timing, of precision. Yeah, sure, Jimmy said. I know all that, but it's still great to see the blood bounce on the ice. Blood bounces on ice, I asked. Yeah, Jimmy said. So does vomit. See, it has to do with the temperature of the ice versus the temperature of the body. Jimmy, please, Dad said, turning green. It's true, Mr. Hatcher. Both bounce on ice. Maybe so, Dad said, but that's not the reason we go to games. I know, Jimmy said, but it's a nice side event. Dad shook his head and began to check off players' names on the list inside his program. Jimmy leaned across me and tapped Dad's arm. I'm not a violent person, Mr. Hatcher. Don't get the wrong idea. It's just that when it's a healthy way to use up some aggressive energy. Hey, Jimmy, I said. Yeah? Stop talking. Okay, sure, Jimmy said. And he was quiet until nearly the end of the third period when 4 of the players got into a fight. He stood up and yelled, "Fight! Fight!" I tugged at his sweater until he sat down. Later, when I was in bed and Jimmy was in his sleeping bag, he said, I've been seeing the school psychologist twice a week. She says I have a lot of anger because my parents split up. Take my word for it, Peter. It's a catastrophe. You should watch your parents all the time and listen to every word they say so they can't take you by surprise. For the next couple of weeks, I paid close attention to my parents, looking for signs of catastrophe. But I didn't see or hear anything unusual, and soon I got tired of watching and listening. Besides, whenever my parents fight, they wind up laughing. In February, we celebrated Tootsie's first birthday. She carried on a family tradition of smashing her fist into her birthday cake. Grandma, who believes in handing out gifts for everyone, not just the birthday person, brought me a 4-color ballpoint pen and Fudge a new Brian Tumpkin book. Read, Fudge said to Grandma. She took him in her lap and read him the latest story about Ura, one of Brian Tumpkin's characters. I used to really like his books when I was a little kid, I said. I'm not a little kid, Fudge reminded me. Next year I'll be in 1st grade. You want to see a little kid? Look at the birthday girl. The birthday girl was sitting in her high chair making a mess. Grandma had brought her a new baby-proof cup, one that refused to turn over no matter how hard Tootsie tried. Finally, Tootsie screeched, picked up the cup, and dumped her milk all over her head. Tootsie's first birthday could go down as a real catastrophe, I said. What's a catastrophile? Fudge asked. It's when something goes wrong, I said. Or when everything goes wrong, Mom added. Talk about catastrophes. 6 weeks later, Tootsie learned how to walk. At first, it was just a few feet at a time, from Mom to Dad or from me to Fudge. But pretty soon, she was toddling all over the place. Sometimes she'd crash land. And if no one was watching, she'd laugh and start all over again. But if she caught one of us looking at her, she'd start bawling and wouldn't stop until she got an arrowroot cookie. And Tootsie wasn't the only one crash landing. Fudge was learning to ride his bicycle. One of his major problems was stopping. Instead of using his brakes, he kept trying to jump off while his bike was still going. I was wrong when I told him he might get a couple scraped knees. Elbows, knees, and head were more like it, constantly. But he refused to give up. He was really determined to get to ride to school. All right, that's where we're going to stop.